Hello and welcome to another session of the COVID Secure Love Summit. We are coming to the stretch, and we're going to the coming to the end of this summit here at the end of this month. And I really miss all of my speakers, and I really miss the ability to ask these questions to all of these love experts. And today, and actually the rest of this summit, is all about how to clear yourself of all and how to heal yourself of the wounds, the breakup wounds of anything, so that you actually are ready for your for the one, for your shining knight, or for your queen, if that's who you're looking for. And today's topic is about don't settle. Don't settle. And Maria Spears is going to help us how to find your soulmate, just as long as you follow her simple 4 steps. And Maria is a love coach, and more importantly, she's been a love and a life coach, supporting women to confidently step into extraordinary love relationships. Maria, your work is so important because I honestly believe that if the women in our world are full of love, whether they're in a relationship or not, but if they are exuding love and are full of love, there will be no war in this world, seriously, because if we can just have more love. And so you are you're empowering women to have that kind of love, and you're sprinkling love all over us. So Maria, I'm so happy to have you here. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so delighted to be with you, Quynh. Thanks for inviting me.
Gosh, your work is so exciting. It's so juicy. I can't, it's like there's only a few work that I envy their work. I'm like, and yours is definitely one of it. You get to get people to get all juicy, all yummy, so that they can find their true love. And I love your topic is like, don't settle. And for me, I do that in terms of work, in terms of career, in terms of their business, how they make a living. Because for me, I don't want anyone to settle in how they live in their lifestyle. And here you are, you're telling women not to settle and actually work on yourself so that you can actually find your soulmate, the person that you're meant to be with. Gosh, you must love your work so much. How did you get involved into this work in the first place?
So it's like many people who go into this work, it was from my own painful journey in love. Yeah, there's a part of it that had to do with my early career, but it was really from getting to a place in my late 40s where my marriage of 16 years just crashed down, and I had to start my life over in many areas. I had to figure out why I had this really unhappy history in love, not just my marriage, but all the relationships before that. And it was very painful to face. You know, I worked with a therapist, and it took a lot of unraveling. And it all pointed back to me. You know,
I have found that all the enlightened people, they all say it points back to me. So so what does that look like? How do we even get to that in the first place? What is your process has been like?
Yeah, so well, what happened with me is a process of uncovering basically what's my unconscious love map, you know, this blueprint of relationships that we all have installed after the factory. Really, you know, it happens to us after we're born.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out what was in there for me, what were my points of attraction, how I was ending up with specific types of people. And then some years later, I was able to start working with clients and using the same process. And a lot of involved processes like tapping, for example, to be able to disentangle, you know, all the attachments I had to past patterns. And so I realized I could break it for myself. And that's what I do. The first thing I do with clients now is we start with identifying, uncovering their unconscious love map. And then we go about also, you know, we identify the beliefs and the fears that are inside of it, because it's not just the patterns. It's the blocks are really the beliefs that we have. And then I use specific tools to help them overcome that, you know, break the connection and no longer be bound, to, in fact, we end up replacing the old beliefs and fears with new empowering ones, so that they can feel confident, they can really glow and feel confident and go out there and go for the matches that they wouldn't have dared go for before.
So I have to ask you this question because I met my husband when I was 16, and then he was my first love, and we both were. And so I never had to go through the process of seeing different people and tasting different love with different people and seeing if this is the one or not. So for someone who, and for others too, who have been through many relationships, how do you know when, or if there's someone out there that is like the one? Like, I guess that's my question. How do you know if there is the one out there for you, or you just have to go through a bunch and see if one of those are the one?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I hesitate sometimes to use the word soulmate, because in my belief system, we have many soulmates that we are here with. They could be a parent or a relative or a friend or a romantic partner, and there are multiples. I feel that, we may make a decision at this juncture in life to go with this person, but over here and over there, we're open doors to go towards other people. So there's not just one right person is the answer for me.
Oh, that is beautiful. So basically you're saying that the soulmate, okay, so the soulmate here is not just about the lover, but also it could be like your best friend. And okay, I get that. I really appreciate that distinction there. So, and you're so right, because even when you have your spouse, we should also have other people, confidant or best friends that we can actually just talk to about the spouse when you can't talk to them, right? Okay, so then having the soulmate. So in this case, when you talk about don't settle, can you please share about your beliefs and how this is going to be able to help others, women or men, to actually find the person that they're meant to, or that they would spend the rest of their lives with and actually be happy in it?
Yeah, it's multiple components.
Okay.
So I'll start, and then, you can ask me questions you think your audience wants to know.
Okay. And you know what? If you are live here right now, this topic is so juicy. I can just go on and on, but I definitely want to save like the last 15 minutes for our live audience to ask you direct questions, Maria. So if you have any questions as I interview Maria, please put it in the chat box in the Q&A, or just raise your hand and then we can make you go live at the end of this part here. Go ahead, Maria.
So I want to go back to what I see as the most important step that anyone can take if they want to find the right partner and not settle.
Yeah.
And for me, that's to uncover the unconscious love map, and also understand that there's a part of your brain, it's a primitive part, it's called the reticular activating system, and you may know it as a coach.
Yeah.
And so in love, what this thing does, it's basically a filter system. It filters out what's not important to you in your environment, and it filters in what is important to you. But what happens is that you won't pay attention, or you won't pay attention to the things that it's filtered out. So if your original love map is to look for people who are kind of emotionally distant, let's say you grew up in a home where, there was one or two parents that was emotionally distant, you're going to gravitate to those people unconsciously. And
Wow.
so, yeah.
So this
And
love map, were we just born with it? And also it has to do both with circumstances, the environment, how they were raised, and also perhaps their own personality as well. So can you change the love map, or you have to work with your love map as it is?
you can change it.
Oh,
I mean,
perfect.
yes, you can understand it in order to make different decisions in your love life, especially when you're out there picking partners. Because I call this reticular activating system your partner picker. And the message I want to give to everyone out there is really that there's nothing wrong with them if they haven't found the right person yet. It's all about what's in the brain, and it's doing the picking for you unconsciously. But as soon as you kind of bust it open, and then you'll be able to see a much bigger field. Your picker will start looking for a bigger field of possibilities, And then you're, on the road to finding the right person.
I love that you said like our brain has this like partner picker system antenna that is picking your partners. So does that have to do with the love map that you were with? So if your love map is very restricted, is very limited, then the partner picker doesn't have much to play with.
Right. Your programming is basically inputting like a Google search. And so your picker, it'll get a concept and it'll only seek out those things in the environment. And
Wow.
there you are. You will only notice certain people. You will not even notice people who are warm and friendly and a great attachment partner for you. And I
Wow. So
was
then
one of
that
those
means,
people.
you know what, that means the most important, well, the first step is to find out what your love map is then.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then how do you do that?
Well, when I work with clients, I have a series of questions that I ask them. We go through every relationship in their immediate family. And then we go through all the love partners that they've had. And we tease out, what were the dynamics? How did those people make them feel in the relationship? What was or was not good for them? And then we take that and we create a new love map. And what we do is we take the little treasures from the old love map and we identify what their deal breakers are going to be and what their must-haves are going to be as they're searching for love. And then they get to really design their own programming for finding a partner, basically.
I love that. You just made me think of like a vision board. Usually we have a vision board for what we want to achieve in a year or 3 years. This is almost like the love map is all like the vision board for your partner, pretty much. Is that sound like that?
It is. It's with concrete qualities and values that you identify, that you want in a partner and how you want to feel in a relationship with them. What is the most important things that you need in order to feel you can thrive. And then it goes further out. You can add some criteria, but oftentimes I find that most people are looking for such external criteria that they get lost in those, and that's where they settle. That's where they are blind to the things that aren't present that they need. And then they settle with someone where they're not going to get it. And then the relationship becomes a disappointment.
Oh, wow. Can you give a little bit more like example of some of those few questions that you ask your clients on how to help them find out what is the current love map looks like?
So I will ask them for their parents, what were some of their most negative qualities and some of their
In
most
terms of the parents' relationship, you mean?
Yeah, I start with
Okay.
the parents because that's when that blueprint got formed. It's our early caregivers, as you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I start with asking them what were the top 5 or 10, most positive qualities of this person, and then the most negative.
So then if you're a woman, would you be looking into what your dad is? Because then the partner that you're looking for is a male figure. And if you're a man, you would be looking at your mother relationship and see how she was treated in that relationship or how she's being in that relationship.
Actually, it's actually both. When I was married, I married both my parents, for example. Yes, it's a little.
This is like, okay. You have to say more. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you could, for example, let's say one parent is controlling. There I was, with a controlling partner. Let's say one parent was unemotional or very critical. That's, you might be getting that in a partner. And
Oh, okay.
sometimes you get things that your parents weren't at all. And that's a sign that you're starting to figure out what feels better, what feels, what really feels good to that little inner child in you that it's seeking, it's seeking what it needs. So so I start with those questions. And then, asking, so what would you or would you not want to find out of these things that they were? What are deal breakers? And what's essential.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, questions about, what caused the end of the relationship. I ask them questions about what beliefs did you develop about yourself and about love as a result of this relationship.
Okay. So does it mean that if your parents had a really loving relationship, does it mean that you have a better chance as children of loving relationships? Would you have a better chance of finding the one because you actually have a pretty good love map in place and you see the model of what that looks like? Versus if you come from a family where parents were always arguing or bickering, or they're not so happy together, but they stay together for the sake of the children, for example, or they break up and have a divorce. Would the children from those unhappy parents, would they have a the unfair advantage, no, the other way, the disadvantage of having a love map that is so, that is not very what's the word, supportive?
Yeah, I would agree for the most part. There are,
Okay.
of course, exceptions, but I would agree that that can be a disadvantage.
So, but the good news is we can totally learn how to redraw or remap our love map so that we can actually attract the right person that is right for you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And also make sure to clear the energy from the past relationships that caused limiting beliefs and blocks to having your heart open and to receive the right person. That's another thing. Your heart has to be open to receive them and ready.
Oh, I love that. Your heart has to be open in order to receive that person. And then more importantly, it has to be, you have to generate, or the energy, the way that it's open, it attracts the right person, and not the other type of person that you don't, that you shouldn't, what's the word, that is the not the right person for you, as in if they're critical, if they're all that stuff. Because depending on how your heart is being opened, you might be attracting the wrong person into your life. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Holy cow. So this is basically all inner work. It has nothing to do with the people out there. It's all inner work.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good news and bad news. The bad news is I mean, the bad news is it's all you. Nobody, it's not external. But the great news is you have full control to change yourself and work on yourself, because you cannot change other people, but you can definitely change yourself and work on yourself. Whew, this is good. Okay.
And the other good news is that I really want to stress that there's nothing wrong with the individual, that they have this internal unconscious, pattern functioning in the background and basically, steering them in the directions they're going. And, we're not given a love manual in life, right? None of us. There's a lot of information out there, but it might not necessarily be right for us individually. And so I felt that because there's no love manual on how to find the right person, I just love the work I do because it really helps point people in the right direction for them.
And your work is all pretty much helping people design their own manual here. This is like you helping them finding their love map, or redrawing the love map. And this is the process of creating their own love manual here. This is beautiful. Perfect. I actually have a couple of questions in the chat already.
Okay.
But can you please give us like maybe a few tips and tools on how they can attract or work on their inner self so that they can be open for the right person?
Okay. So, I mean, it's best if they can work with someone to bring things to the surface. And the other thing they can do on their own, though, is think they can survey the people who love them the most.
Like
People who,
parents and like family people, or their exes? That's my
no, yeah,
question.
that's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. No, this would be soulmates. This would be people who really get them and love them
Ah,
unconditionally, who support them unconditionally.
okay.
you know yes, so go to those people and start asking them, how do I make your life better? What is unique and important about me in your life? What's indispensable about me in your life? What am I known for to you?
Oh, that is great. But I have to ask you this question though, because not a lot of people have that soulmate in their life. Because
Mhm.
sometimes, of course, the parents love us because they gave birth to us. But then I I don't know if it's that common out there that people actually have a soulmate, where if it's a best friend or if it's like brothers and sisters who like love them and get them. I, I would actually, you know what? I would love to survey our live audience here. Can you please put in the chat box, number one, if you have a soulmate? And that is basically someone who understands you and you love them for who they are, and vice versa. And put number two if you don't have one. Can you please do me a favor and put that in the chat? Because I would love to just to survey in our real time here.
Cool.
So while we wait for people to type in, we do have half right now. So it's 50-50.
So what I do though with clients is I ask them to not just go to the soulmates, but also go to other people who know them well. And that would be siblings, longtime friends, you know. So I ask them to go to those people because each provides a piece of who they are and what they mean to them. And eventually what we get to is their relationship superpowers.
Yeah.
And so knowing what their superpowers are in relationships really kind of empowers them when they step into the dating scene, because they know what they have to offer. They can sit in their worth, you know, and feel worthy. So it's important to also get to feeling worthy of what you want. There are other ways to, I guess, to prepare yourself. One might be to bring to mind someone that you absolutely love unconditionally. And it could be pets, it could be people, you know, but get into that love vibration. And you could also use props and other things to help you be in the love vibration. But I think when you discover who you really are and what you want in life, when you know yourself, and you can discover that through creative activities, you know, well, it's unique to everyone. But the better you know yourself, the more you kind of dust off yourself. Let's say you're a crystal, you know, you dust yourself off and then you can be more brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. So then it does boil down to, and the qualities, your beauty, your inner beauty is already there. It's just that perhaps it's dusty. That's all. You just have to polish yourself off a little bit. Like the like a mirror. You just have to polish it a little bit. So then finding the one or finding your soulmate really boils down to you knowing who you are and knowing what you want.
That's a part of it.
What's the other parts then? Can you please expand on that?
Yeah. So I would go back and go to the core of it would be to love yourself. And I think, you know, you talk about that, to love yourself. And that means, you know, yourself, you know what you're looking for, you have confidence. There's understanding what you need based on your old love map.
Yeah.
And there's also working on your mindset, you know, having a mindset of, okay, I'm a king or I'm a queen and I'm looking for my queen or king.
Right.
It's a different mindset than kind of, oh, you know, I'm waiting to be chosen. Why is no one choosing me? You know, I think women don't realize how much they're in a driver's seat in terms of the pace of relationships and where they go. And I think another thing would be to also educate ourselves on, you know, the core skills needed to have a long-lasting relationship. And I have some favorites I could share of, you know, who study those things, and also understand the opposite sex and how vastly different we are. So the core is loving yourself. You know yourself. You know, you have confidence. You're shining brightly. You have a great mindset, and then you have some tools to use in communication skills that you use in relationships to build, you know, long-term relationships.
Oh, I love that. And I really love, and of course it does certainly boils down to mindset and how you feel about yourself and about whether you deserve that partner or not. And I do know that some of us here are certainly, there's two categories. Number one, they're single and they haven't married yet and they're still looking for the one, and they're being choosy or being what's the word? But being choosy is good. And then there's the other type where they're divorced or they've been divorced, and now with with a divorce, usually there's a lot more caution, if that's the word, to marry again, because gosh, it's painful to go through divorce. Such a hassle when it comes to all the finance, and if you have kids, oh my gosh, it's even 10 times worse. So between the two, whether you're divorced or you're single and you're looking for the one, is there a different like, is the method different for those two categories to find the one or to find the soulmate?
Well, honestly, as I work with people, it's really individual. It's pretty customized, but
Mhm.
um, I don't see a very big difference, except in the people who've been married before um, don't have that dire longing that single people do, that who are getting close to their 40s and they want to have a family. There's this feeling like of I'm going to miss out. There's an urgency. There's a shame about being single that I see. And so sometimes the wedding ends up being the focal point and not the lifelong relationship part.
Right.
Oh, it's like, I got to get married. I got to start with the family. And that's a biological drive. So,
Right.
that's just the reality of it. We're biologically driven. But later on in life, after we have been married or we've had a family, the urgency, the mentality is different.
Yeah.
It's about, okay, how do I see the rest of my life, the next chapter? And how
Mhm.
do I want to share it with someone? And maybe the relationship, we're not looking for it to be the end all be all anymore, because we've got enough inside the tank here for ourselves anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that
So
is such beautiful distinction right there. Yeah, I can totally see that. So then in your work with your clients, when you help them find the one, what are the so you already mentioned the steps already. What about when you're going actually out there? So after you work on yourself and now you're gonna look for someone out there and start dating and maybe start that whole two-way, it's a two people now instead of just one. What does that look like? What are your tips on now we're ready to go out there and find that one, that person? What do we
yeah.
do?
So I always ask people to kind of diversify their search plan. Online, of course, is important today because 1 in 3 serious relationships comes from online dating. So you can't ignore it, because
Yeah.
it kind of moves things along faster to
Yeah.
meet people. So I advise that they start with some chats, then move to phone and move to video before going in person. And I know some people, especially men, try to rush it, like, oh, let's meet in person, let's get it over with. I hate, chats and phone. But, honestly, if a man's not willing to go through those extra steps for you to feel safe, maybe that's not the right person,
Mhm.
to be looking at. And I also ask them to date multiple people at a time. I know it's uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially women. I don't mean like long-term intimate relationships. I mean, go on dates with,
Right.
to get to know them,
Yeah.
uh, and to hold back from the physical if they can,
You mean to
because
hold back the sex, you mean?
yeah,
Or what about the kissing or the holding hands? Like,
oh,
tell me in terms of more specific, please.
hold back the intercourse, I would say,
Okay.
because biologically, chemically, our especially for women, something happens in our brains where once a woman is intimate with a man, there's a bonding that happens. And then she's thinking about, oh, okay, where's this going? It's got to be a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
To a lot of us, it happens, and it's hormonal. So that's why I ask people just hold off from that and get to know the person. Have fun, don't interrogate on dates.
I love that. No interrogate on dates. That's job is for the parents.
But I mean, some people go in with their masculine, some women go in with their masculine and they're interrogating him, and it's you just want to first establish some kind of rapport, and be enjoying each other and be curious.
Yeah.
But I do also advise in the first couple of dates, if you have specific goals for your love life, like let's say, and especially women I work with who are in their mid 30s to mid 40s, if you want to marry and have a family, you have to state it up front and find out where he's at. Ask him, so how do you see your love life? What do you want in your love life? And see how he paints the picture of who's in it, what kind of relationship it is. Does he talk about children and family?
Yes, and of course that is so important because the clock is ticking. We don't want to drag it out and then miss the boat on that whole thing.
Mhm.
What are some of the most common mistakes that women or men make when they date someone and they really really like this person, and their wish is this is the one, or they think this is the one, and so what are the most common mistakes or what not to do if that's the case? Or how do we actually find the person? Okay, so let's say you find the person, you really really love this person. How do you actually keep that person then? Any tips on that?
Okay, so the question really is, if you really love the person, have you objectively looked at your criteria with this person? Have you really answered honestly for yourself, how do they make me feel? If it's important for me to feel respected or listened to, or to feel safe with someone, then, is that person doing that at a fundamental level? So
Mm,
don't overlook the essentials,
right.
because a
Okay.
lot of people talk about chemistry.
Yeah.
And in my experience, chemistry can be created and built.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm gonna ask you questions about that towards the end. For people like us who are already married, what is our chance of turning our frogs into our princes? But okay, so first of all, we need to actually make sure that this is the one and not just be blind by the first impressions or all that. So how do you do that? Like is it a set of questions that you get to know them deeper, or is it, I hate to ask this question, but women's, or apparently there's this word called intuition, which some of us have a lot of and some of us don't have any, like me, or like I used to be. um, Definitely as I grew and understand myself a lot more, my intuition has grown much stronger. But I was totally not at all aware of that. It even existed. So when you meet someone for the first time, or for the second date or the third date, and you feel like, oh, wow, I really want to be with this person. Is there something that you need to, like the questions that you need to ask, or the test, I'm going to call it test in brackets, that you need to do in order to actually double check if this person is really good for you or not?
Mm. I think you want to, if you can, take it outside of the realm of intuition. And because when you're looking at a list in black and white, what I find is that people come to these shocking realizations like, wait a minute, this is missing.
Mm,
I want someone who has a sense of humor, and this person doesn't. And I need to be with someone who's uplifting in my life, and someone who's positive, and who takes things more lightly. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah.
you got to go back to those things because it's so tempting. And that in our lives, the media has really romanticized what it's about to be in a long-term relationship. And so I think it comes down to, like, let's come back to this list. What's
And that list is the love map, right? The love map that you created, right? Okay.
right, right. It's a
Okay, so
list
then
of
this,
essential, sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
It's a list of the essential qualities you must have in a partner and in a relationship. And it's a list of the deal breakers, the things you can't live with.
Right.
And
So that,
sometimes, you know,
sorry.
yes, sometimes we have our RAS is not noticing when there's a deal breaker there, like when we're with someone who has multiple cocktails each night.
Mm,
Um, we might overlook that and not realize that that, that now could snowball and become alcoholism or something that you can't live with. So
that this makes a really important question. And that is, let's say we have a list of qualities that I would love to have in my partner. And this person, they probably have maybe 70%. So if it's 80%, that would be like a passing score, but they've only got 70% and the missing, maybe not the must-haves, but the would like to have.
Oh,
how do you draw the line? Because when you say the word don't settle, I really love that. But then where is the line between good enough versus you have to have meet all these qualities? So is that part of the list that you actually already designed, that they have to have all these qualities before you choose that person?
well, so when I say don't settle, I mean don't settle for someone who can't meet the fundamentals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Then some of the other things, it's a kind of a discussion, back and forth with yourself or with someone who knows you, can I live without this? Or can I create it in my life on my own and not have to rely on my partner for it,
Right.
because our partners aren't going to meet every need that we have. It's, especially if we're looking at man-woman differences,
Yeah.
men are, in monovision, and women are diffuse awareness. They are paying attention to everything at every time, so the
Yeah.
way he sees the future versus you could be so different. And
Right.
but a lot of questions, there's a lot of questions out there that people can ask to find out if someone is the right person for a relationship, apart from their own, criteria. There are lists out there that will help you really dive into things like finances. How do you handle finances?
Mm.
What's your view about raising children? What's important? Discussions about religion, if that's important.
Right. Oh gosh. Okay. So if that's the case, when it comes to these foundation qualities, that the must-haves, what are some of the must-haves that you feel like they should all have?
Mm.
For actually, and is it different between women and men? I'm curious because we actually have both men and women listening to this interview.
Well, so I want to share, what Alison Armstrong in her 30 plus years of research has discovered. And for example, this is what she's discovered that men are looking for. They're looking for a woman who's confident. Okay,
Wow. Okay,
they're
wait,
not,
that totally, like, I had no idea that was like what men look for. Okay.
yeah, they're not looking for a babe. They're looking for someone who feels good in her skin.
Right.
Um, they're looking for kindness. They're looking for someone who's empathetic and listens to them. They're looking for appreciation. That is a huge one. They're looking for someone who can appreciate the little and the big things that he provides.
Right.
He's the provider, at
Yeah.
least if we look at it evolutionary, wise.
Yeah.
And some of the other things that they're looking for are the feminine qualities that women bring, our softness, our intuition, our nurturing and listening and receptiveness. And they need to feel needed. They need to feel like they are providing something you can't provide yourself. And so for accomplished women today, professional women, a lot of men get the feeling that they can't contribute to their life. And when they ask themselves, the number one question they ask before they consider a serious relationship, which is, can I make her happy? If the
Mm.
answer is no, they won't engage in a long-term relationship.
Oh, this is so good. So this is where women, if like super strong women, and I mean like powerful executives, women who don't need men, that category, because they're financially stable, they are emotionally stable, if that's, and so they don't need men. But if the man, if that person, if the king feels like I can't make her happy, he won't be engaging in this relationship because he doesn't see him being able to provide her happiness. He won't even. Oh wow. So
Yeah.
women, if you are super strong and you don't need men, please listen to this one right here, this piece right here. So then if that's the case, how do those strong women, how should they be with these guys?
Well, it takes practice because we're so used to every day bringing on our more masculine qualities, the goal oriented and, productivity. And so what happens is they have to kind of, before being with a man, especially if they're out there dating, is to do practices that help them soften, help them get into their feminine, whether it's change the clothes they're wearing, use some perfume, or just start to listen to certain kinds of music to soothe themselves. It's kind of like that's part of the mindset, is to gear down into that after a long day working. um, Another, sorry, I want to go back to, I'm trying to remember your other question. What do we do um, to help with that masculine piece that we bring into relationships? Another thing is to communicate what he's providing in the relationship and appreciation for it. Acknowledge him, let him know how important he is. Let him know that he's your hero.
Right. Oh, yes, exactly. He wants to be the hero for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
He wants to be the shining star. I mean, guy, the shining knight, right? Yeah.
And
What
in
about
long,
the other way for women? Actually, have you finished with the men yet? Or because I don't know if you have more to share for the men here.
there was one other thing I wanted to share for women who are already married, or
Okay.
who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. Again, I think Alison Armstrong provides this great body of work that tells you how men start as pages and they move into knights and then into princes and then into kings. And the man's objective in life changes dramatically during those phases, and it really affects how we communicate with them and coexist with them in a relationship. So I really recommend reading up on that.
Okay. Well, is it a book about, or what is your book that you recommend?
Understanding Men.
Understanding Men. Beautiful. That's a good book for us women to read for sure. Does she, or is there a book out there for how to understand women as well?
I think she does. I think she offers courses for both and books for both. Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's go to the women's side. For what is women? What are the must-haves that women should have?
They should have, or that they're looking for.
Well, like you said, there's like the foundations, the must-haves, and then all the extras are their own personality and what they want on top of it. But what are the must-haves that you think is really important that the women should look for in their partner?
Hmm. Well, okay, some of those things are individual, okay? And it has to do kind of with your love language. Some people are interested in receiving gifts or acts of service, or, you've heard this before. So some of those must-haves will vary, So for me, quality time is a must-have.
Yeah.
So like I said, it will vary, but I think the listening, kindness, empathy,
Yeah.
those are so foundational. Communicative, willing to work through things.
Yeah.
Not everybody is willing to set aside, their ego or agenda and want to work and have a vision for the relationship to make it great for both people.
Right. Gosh, it's almost like if that's like the qualities that you look for in your life partner versus the quality that you look for in a friend, the difference, I think, like, actually, can you share like what is the difference between in a partner and a friend, other than the sexuality and the attraction side? It seems to me like a perfect partner would be like your perfect friend. Like, I don't see the difference. Do you?
It starts with that. Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Well, you know what? I would love to open up for our live audience for questions, and we actually have a bunch in here. And also, if you wanted to speak live with Maria, just raise your hand so I can unmute you. And while we wait for more of questions and all that, can you please share with our audience what your gift is, Maria, for
Oh,
the audience?
yes. So the gift is the 10 steps you can take now to attract your soulmate.
Oh, I love that. And how do they claim that? It's a link that you give us, right?
Yeah, Yeah, I sent a link.
Yeah, I remember you sent it to me. Let me just double check. I'm so sorry because
That's okay. I sent one yesterday actually for this particular gift.
okay, let me just grab it.
Mhm.
And I'll put it in the chat box for everyone here. Can you share a little bit about that, the gift itself, like a little bit more information about that?
It's basically 10 steps they can be doing right now. And it involves the self-love, the confidence, working on themselves, discovering, what their unique light is in the world. It's just preparing themselves to receive love. So those are the tips
Okay.
in there. Yeah, and they're easy things to do, simple. And you can pick
Perfect.
and choose. You can pick and choose. It's not like you have to do each one. And yeah.
Perfect. So I just dropped the link in the chat here, and of course I'll put your gift in the final pages where all the speakers' gift and bio are as well. So now let's go to the questions of our live audiences here. I don't see raised hands, so it's all in the chat. Let me just go up and are you able to look at the chat as well? Because I'm going to ask these questions for you as well. Deborah said, men needs to be respected and women needs to be loved. So true.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah. That's definitely a distinction.
Okay. There's a question here. What is the place and importance of making your emotions known and and allowing vulnerability in finding your soulmate? Oh, this is so good. From a guy, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think that has everything to do with creating intimacy from the very first date all the way through the relationship. Yeah, it's critical.
So then allowing, and you know what, I do realize that men nowadays are a lot more open to being vulnerable and a lot more open to actually share their feelings, whereas before, and because society and the times nowadays, it actually we actually request or we encourage our men to share a lot more. So I think more men are now moving towards being able to share, versus the older generation. Men don't cry, men don't talk and stuff like that. But definitely with the way things are right now, a lot more men are more open and more willing to be vulnerable. And yet the opposite I find is also true, where more women are becoming more masculine and are not in their softness, in their vulnerability. I know that for personal, for me as well as some of my friends, where we tend, because of our work, because of our achieving high achieving qualities, we tend to just tough up and don't share. And yet we are still so much soft, and we need men. Seriously, we do. We want them in our lives, and yet we don't show it. We don't show that we need our men in our lives, because honestly we don't need them, but gosh, life is just better with them.
Yeah, it's not that we're not complete without them, but they complement us and we complement them,
Absolutely.
So I agree that women who are professional women, let's say today, are being a lot less vulnerable than they should be as
Right.
they're young. And if a man can't see that part, then he's not going to step in and be vulnerable as well. We almost have to take the lead. And
In that case, for men who wants to be vulnerable, or who wants to show that he has layers and feelings, what is the line between being manly and vulnerable versus the line between where, oh gosh, this guy is too weak? Like, what is that line? Is there that line?
well, it depends on the person. Because I think about a client I worked with a couple years ago. She was always looking for the masculine type man. But what she really needed and wanted was a guy who could talk about emotions and be creative with her. And so what happened is she finally started noticing those types. And the one she's with now is actually someone who's not muscular. He's not masculine. But he is just the right man, just the right level of the masculine qualities, and also vulnerable the way she needed him to be. So I think it depends on the person. There are women who really want their man to be quite masculine. And so you have to go with what feels right to you, but also stay open to the possibility that you could eventually become comfortable with something that you're not used to.
I think one of the things that one of my previous speakers said, that men, they want to find someone who they can be safe with, like as in they can feel safe to be themselves with that woman.
Yes.
And that is, and that also is for us women too. We just want to be, that's what great friends are. We can just be totally be ourselves and they'll love us no matter what.
Oh,
Ah,
and yeah, women have the same thing. They want to be safe, and on some other levels too, from, caveman and woman times, they need physical protection. We are physically smaller and less strong than them. So they need that kind of protection from the outside world in some way. And as well as they want to feel safe to be their authentic self. So yeah, but it's especially important for men. We're more used to divulging ourselves to our friends, and family than men are still.
right, of course. Okay, so let me spend. I would love to ask you questions around if you're already married or if you are in in a relationship right now with someone, but let's just say it's not a 10 or even a 9. It's more like a 6 or a 7. Do you have any advices on how to take it up a notch to an 8 or a 9?
So first question I would ask is, are both parties interested in taking it up a notch?
Well, you know what? I Does it have to be both parties that have to be interested in it? What if just one party wants to take it up a notch? Does it mean that
Uh,
it's not doable?
no, no, it doesn't. I was just curious. Uh,
Okay.
it's more fun if
I,
it's done. Yeah.
definitely, it's definitely more fun if both parties are in this game together. But I would assume most likely it's one party who wants more versus the other one is it's okay. I don't need to do anything else with it. But the other person is probably the one that says, "Oh, I want more. I know we could have more."
Uh,
I would say just one party that wants to change.
okay. Is it mostly women that we're talking
Mostly.
about? Okay. So I think it's important to start with communicating in a way that doesn't put the other person on the defense.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like how you frame the initial conversation, is, you say, hey, you know what? There's something I really want to talk to you about and get your input. When's a good time for us to do that? And then when you agree on a good time so that they're not blindsided, then you say, you know what, I'd really love for this relationship to be great for you and for me, but I really want to know, like, what do you want in our love life? What is it that you might be missing,
Mhm.
that I could improve, start from there, what you can do, and start the conversation.
Okay.
Because if you're unhappy, the other person may not be getting their 10% either.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right about that. Okay. Okay. I want to circle back to the singles because that was just for me. But let's circle back to the singles. Um, if you are looking for someone, and I know that on whether it's someone setting up a date for you, your friend is setting up someone for you, or you are out there looking, is there a way that you can announce to the world that I'm available and I'm this who's interested? Like, what is the best way to announce to the world that way? It's different to be able to market your business. If you learn some marketing messages, it's actually pretty simple to do. But when it comes to you looking for the perfect partner, how can you market yourself so that it works, so that it's actually, it doesn't sound corny?
Yeah, that is a great question. I love it because that's something that I encourage people to do, is not to completely rely on online, apps. And so it starts with just what you would do if you were networking, right? You would pick people that you know are thinking about you and want to help support you in building your business. Same with love. You identify, 5, 6 people or more that really support you in finding your true love. And you approach them and say, you know what, I'm really open. If you know of anybody in your environment, going with you to certain events where there might be singles, and say, these are the main criteria, and be very clear, because a lot of times what I find is that your friends love you and they might just throw anything at you, just spaghetti at the wall. Know that they're taking an effort.
So before you ask for anyone to refer someone to you, give them the list, the love map. I need this.
Well, just some of the basics, like if you're looking for someone, for example, who has a college degree, or someone who's in the trades or whatever, and someone who's kind and is down to earth and intelligent, some of those basics,
Yeah.
You can provide to them.
Okay.
People are very happy to start thinking about it. They really do.
Yeah. And you know what? For the people who are in your life, seriously, if you are actually looking, your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers, if they know you're looking and you're ready for someone and they know who you're looking for, definitely let them know so that they can support you for sure. Then what about, let's say, uh, now you're on your first date. You met someone or someone referred this person to you, and you went on a coffee date or dinner or lunch or something. Gosh, the whole COVID thing now. Actually, you know what? With COVID, a lot of people are just meeting online now, like to actually have this conversation and having the coffee and tea in their own spaces, which is really cool. But then the conversation, so then the first conversations, um, you said earlier that don't interrogate them. So then what is a really good etiquette way to actually find out what's important to them and actually have this deep, intimate conversation instead of surface conversation?
So, if you want to learn about them, it's important to ask questions about what they love, something that they're going to be able to talk about for a while, and not yes and no. So
Right.
ask them to tell you a story about when they were younger, something they did that was thrilling, something that they were very proud of. Ask them just to tell a story and do the same. Tell stories as opposed to yes, no, questions. And show up with maybe an intention, if you're setting up the call or the video, say, hey, how about if we make this a little fun today, since it's a video? And how about if you bring something that's important to you in your house that you want to talk about, and I'll bring something. And
Oh,
so
I
when
love that. That's such a
yeah,
great game. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so, one of my clients was telling me she was on a first video date with someone, and he brought one of his power shakes, one of his energy drinks, and he told her
Oh,
what's in it and why he drinks it. And, so obviously health and is very important to that guy, And so
yeah.
she picked up a picture of her when she was dancing, when she was younger, and how that was a dream come true for her. And, so
Yeah. Oh, okay. So then what about, okay, so after the first date is done and it's good. And and should you set up the second date right away after the first date, or should you wait, or what is the etiquette around that, or any advice around that? Or should you call him or text him and be the first to initiate the second date, the third date, or what should we do?
yeah. So in general, if we're talking about men and women, men, even if you tell them you had a great time and you thank them, you might have to repeat it a couple of times. So you say it a couple of times that evening if you really liked it. Even if you didn't like it, just thank you very much. This was really lovely. Even point out something that was very enjoyable, how you appreciate the, wonderful restaurant they chose. And then after the date, text them and right away say, thank you so much. I'd love to see you again. That was so much fun.
Oh, that is simple to do. That's easy. Thank you.
And he should take the ball from there. Once he knows you are very, very interested to take it to the next, meeting, then he will step up and start making the plans.
Okay, so we do that. So women, so we only say that, thank them, and then say, let's do this again. So we should not be doing more beyond that then, and set the second date. Are you available next Wednesday? We should not do that second step then?
I would refrain. You could always go back later and say, hey, I noticed this particular activity that we discussed, and there's something going on. Would you like to join me? But in general, I think if you say it clearly enough that you had a wonderful time and you're looking forward to, the next time you're meeting, he will get enough of a message that he will start working on it.
So if he doesn't get back to you, does it mean that he's not interested and you should just not contact him again? Or what should we do if he doesn't get back after you being pretty open about it and not, secretive around it?
You don't know why he might not be getting back to you. You never know what lands in somebody's life, so it's important not to take it personally. It could have
Yeah.
nothing to do with you. Maybe they had a death in the family or whatever,
Yeah.
maybe an ex-girlfriend came back in the picture. So the best thing is to, if you really want to reach out again, go ahead, call or text them. And, you can state your intention clearly or said you remembered them because of such and such. It's better to do it based on something they're interested in that you really paid attention to. So if there's something to touch base about that's related to your interest in them, that's the way I would approach it, as opposed to when are we getting together again,
Right, right, right. And okay, I actually have to ask you this question too. You know how when we were younger, like maybe in our teen or 20s, 30 is probably a little too old already. But when we were younger, we were so um, eager, and so we were delighted at everything. And yet we were older and we have been through a few relationships. It becomes less exciting. It becomes less anticipating, and I don't know. It's almost like we have this fear, or this perhaps some feelings around, it's just too much work, might as well forget this whole scene. If that's the case, what kind of advice do you have for them? Because I definitely see a difference as older women or men, when they've been through a few relationships and just don't work, and now it's like, gosh, this is just too much work. I don't think I want to do this anymore. Any advice around there?
I do hear that. Women who are older and men who have gone through divorce or have not met someone yet, they do talk about they're ambivalent. Part of them wants it, but they at that point are afraid of giving up something important. So they're paying attention more to what they're going to be giving up and
Mm,
much less on what they're going to be gaining. So like anything in life, when you have a goal, if you're allowing the thing you're afraid of or the downsides, the negatives to outweigh your desire into the positives, then you won't be going towards it.
right,
You'll be always looking at what you don't like, and then you'll keep finding what you don't like.
right.
So the kind of question I ask them is, so ask yourself, what is it costing my future self if I say I want a partner, but I don't do anything about it now?
Super powerful question right there. And especially if, I mean, if they're serious about what they're missing out on, if they don't do something about it, perhaps that gives them the motivation to actually be open to actually find that person. Because if their mindset is around, this is too much work, and yeah, I have to give up this freedom, I have to give up so much in order to find that, definitely the mindset. Okay, so then let's talk about the mindset. In order for you to actually be able to attract someone into your life, your mindset has to be open, first of all, for that person to come in, because you're looking for that person and you're willing to pay the price. Willing to pay the price, right? Versus, I want it, but you know what? I just want to wait for it to drop on me. That's it. I don't want to do anything. No price to pay here. That's not going to work. So let's we're over time, but I just didn't want to end this yet. Can you please share what are some of the if we can call it, the prices that they would have to pay in order to attract this perfect partner into their life.
The way I see it or the way they would see it?
The way you see it, and then of course everyone has individual needs and all that stuff, but I would love to hear what you think.
Yeah, they'll have to be willing to see the uncertainty and not know when it's going to happen, but believe that it will happen, that it's not a matter of if, it's when, and have that mentality. They're going to have to give up, wanting to know the outcome before they even meet someone. They're going to have to give up beliefs that sabotage them right out the gate. That tells me if they're looking at it as that they're going to lose too much, that tells me that they have more beliefs stacked up against a relationship. And they have to really, if they want one, they have to work on building beliefs, and like if they have to itemize them, what it is that they'll be gaining by being in a relationship, what it is that they'll be gaining later on in life, in all the stages of life. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yes. Actually, can you please do a quick review of the 4 steps again? Because you have a 4 steps process.
So the first step is to reveal your current love map and where it's taking you, and also do something to disentangle yourself from that old love map, the fears and beliefs. The second is to build a new love map, including a new vision of your life with the right partner in it. And that vision helps because it keeps you headed towards the positive you expect with a partner, as opposed to, looking back at the negatives you've had. And then there's mindset. There's the mindset of the queen versus the, looking for her king, and also feeling like you're magnetic to exactly the right person for you. And then there's doing your homework, upgrading your relationship skills, and really studying the differences between men and women, and then practicing that, communicating in those new ways.
Love it. Love it. Oh, thank you so much. And before we finish our interview today, can you please perhaps just share with us one final piece of nugget, or perhaps tie it up with the bow or something? But gosh, you've said a few things that are very concrete and very practical that we can walk away with already. But anything you want to share before we finish with our interview here?
Yes, I do. So the main thing I want to say is there's nothing wrong with you if you're single and you don't want to be. You just have to redirect your picker. And in order to change the course of your love life, you do have to take bold steps. You have to make it a priority. And I urge you, if you really want to find a partner, get yourself a coach or a guide. Doesn't matter if it's me or any of the people in this summit. Just find someone you resonate with and you trust, and have that person by your side who's going to make sure that you don't give up and settle on yourself when you shouldn't be. Yeah. And that you stay in that right mindset. It's really critical if that's what they want to see for their future self. And I do have some love quotes, but if we don't have time, I will.
I'd love to hear them.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it? I'm sorry. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek to find all the barriers that you've built within yourself against it. And that's Rumi.
Okay, wait, I don't get that. Can you please say it again?
Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it.
Oh, okay. That makes total sense. Yeah. That's why it's all inner work first.
Yeah.
Okay.
You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserves your love and affection. And that's Buddha.
I love it. Any more quotes? Oh, these quotes are so good. Well, I'm so glad you gave us some of these final quotes here. And thank you so much for your work, for what you do for women and men. And also just spreading more love into the universe here. I wish you all my best wishes, and I hope to see you again, and perhaps in person one day. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you.
And thank you. And then for tomorrow, following up with our theme of helping singles find their loved ones, find their perfect partner. Tomorrow's speakers, actually tomorrow is a very special day. because it's Saturday, and I actually was able to get 3 people all in. The reason why I have 3 was because I had more speakers who wanted to. I had such great topics, and I couldn't say no to them. So I just put them more on tomorrow, on tomorrow's talk. So we have 3 speakers tomorrow. Carissa Ford Montooth is speaking on how to heal the 5 breakup wounds so you can finally attract your soulmate. So she's speaking at noon Mountain Time. And then the next speaker is Lotus Queen. She's going to be speaking on how to be a magnet for love, and she'll start at 1 p.m. And then my final speakers for tomorrow would be Claire Morecraft. And Claire is a pleasure specialist. She's going to share with you her journey from chronic pain, anorexia, addiction, and even PTSD to pleasure. And her work now is all about getting people to feel pleasure in their life. It's not just sexuality, it's also the simple pleasures of life as well. And I so look forward to tomorrow, because this entire day tomorrow is going to be so juicy. And Maria today, she just started this whole juiciness and yumminess of it. And we're going to have 3 more speakers on that topic tomorrow. Please come back at noon Mountain Time tomorrow, and we will have more fun with all of my speakers. Thank you so much, Maria, for your time. And thank you everyone for joining me live today, for your questions. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.